What's the first thing you think when you hear Shrek? Crude humor, a killer soundtrack, layers, or maybe trauma, isolation, the most avoidant to ever avoid? Most people probably land in the first camp. After all, this movie redefined fairy tales, gave us a bottomless supply of memes, and probably altered an entire generation's brain chemistry. But I can't help wanting to dig deeper. Who is Shrek really? How did he end up so alone? And how did he break through that isolation to find true love? That's what we're exploring today. Why Shrek's journey matters and how he moves from isolation to self-actualization. This is Psych Media. We all first met our favorite ogre in his outhouse over 24 years ago. His narration of a classic fairy tale, Prince Charming rescuing a princess from her tower, sounds nostalgic, like he's fully buying into the storyline.
For her true love, and true love's first kiss.
That is until the last page, which he rips right out of the book, and we can guess what he does with it.
What a logic!
The opening sequence that follows shows an ogre who's content, takes pride in his swamp, and even dedicates time to self-care. But he's clearly alone. There's no one here but Shrek. An angry mob is our first clue as to why. Shrek is just chilling in his one-seat living room, eating a little snacky snack when he hears voices in the distance. He rolls his eyes, and when he sees it's an angry mob of men with pitchforks, the kind of sight that would send most people running, he's just mildly annoyed. This has happened before, and tonight he decides, I'm gonna fight with these dumbasses. This is when we truly meet Shrek. He waits for them to start spewing their prejudiced opinions before,
Well, actually,
a literal mob on his lawn.
they'll make a suit from your freshly peeled skin. No! They'll shave your liver, squeeze the jelly from your eyes. Actually, it's quite good on toast.
Back! Back, please! Back! I warn you!
This one scene sets up so much. There are other fairy tale creatures like giants. Ogres are heavily discriminated against, and Shrek has had to learn to live with this alone. Which makes that opening sequence hit a little harder. Were we actually watching Shrek live out his daily routine of self-deception? Think about it. Why else would he be reading a fairy tale first thing in the morning unless he woke up thinking about it? Why else would he have so much contempt for true love? Now, you might roll your eyes and say I'm reading too deep into it, and you're right. That's the psych media specialty. But this is rooted in real psychological theory. Maslow's hierarchy of needs are arranged in a pyramid, with basic needs at the bottom, self-actualization at the top. Looking at the pyramid, Shrek's stuck in the first tier at the bottom. He has food, shelter, warmth, and the ability to protect himself, but he's stuck there, and he knows it. So the only way he can survive that longing is to emotionally detach, using jokes and intimidation to deflect how utterly alone he is, when deep down, he's craving connection. Donkey then crashes into the picture at what Shrek would definitely call an inopportune time. He's outside nailing a keep out sign to a tree when soldiers chase the ass right into his backside. This random disruption to Shrek's routine becomes the catalyst for his eventual growth, but change is never instant. In their first real conversation, Donkey is totally unfazed. He talks a mile a minute, gets in Shrek's way, and ignores every ounce of Shrek's leave me alone body language. I mean, just look at this face. He is not amused. Shrek falls back on his usual intimidation tactics, but this time it feels cartoonish instead of scary because we're looking at it from Donkey's perspective. Donkey doesn't see Shrek the way Shrek sees himself. When Shrek says,
I'm an ogre! You know, grab your torch and pitchforks. Doesn't that bother you?
Donkey immediately replies,
Nope.
and just like that, Shrek is disarmed. You can almost see the cognitive dissonance setting in. Before he knows it, this overly chatty miniature beast of burden is following him back to his swamp. But their first real connection doesn't happen until after they've rescued Fiona. It takes multiple nights, thousands of steps, and a near-death experience before Shrek starts opening up. They talk about constellations, with Shrek sharing stories of other ogres who were also alone. He probably feels a deep connection to these tales. Think about it, he would have had to leave the swamp to find those books or scrolls just to read about others like him. The parallels to his own discrimination and isolation would be comforting. So when Donkey brushes it off,
Ain't nothing but a bunch of little dots.
Shrek lashes out and retreats. retreats inward again. That's avoidant attachment in action, often seen in people whose emotional needs were neglected or rejected. We don't know Shrek's childhood in the first movie, but everything so far teltells us that he's been alone for a very long time. This moment reminds him why, and convinces him he's better off that way. So when Donkey starts talking about what they'll do when they return to their swamp, Shrek shuts it down. There is no their swamp. He's going to build a 10-foot wall. Donkey pushes back, saying what seems obvious. Shrek's trying to keep people out. Shrek fires back.
Look, I'm not the one with the problem, okay? It's the world that seems to have a problem with me. People take one look at me and go, ah, help, run! A big, stupid, ugly ogre. They judge me before they even know me.
This is so hard for him to admit that the mask drops it completely. His ears droop, his voice softens, and he just deflates. He's not trying to keep everybody out. He's trying to keep himself in, to stay protected. Donkey's gentle response.
You know what? When we met, I didn't think you was just a big, stupid, ugly ogre.
Is beautiful. It shows that while Donkey is young and naive, he has always accepted Shrek. At the end of this conversation, Shrek is still wary of Donkey's energy and innocence, but cracks are starting to form in his armor. The cracks deepen the next morning, when Fiona proves she's not the helpless princess that he expected. She can take care of herself and others. And that completely upends his assumptions about people in this world. Instead of a royal damsel in distress, she turns out to be strong, clever, and lonely. When she talks about being locked in a tower her whole life, Shrek starts to finally see how much they have in common. That's when he begins to let his guard down, and we get the falling in love montage. But before he knows it, the castle is in sight. Fiona's future is waiting for her, and he is visibly regretful that their time together is ending. So when Fiona suggests that they stay together one more night, he jumps at the chance. He knows Donkey will be fine. After all, he saw how easily Fiona distracted him with the blue flowers. Shrek just doesn't want to be alone anymore. This is him inching closer to the third rung of Maslow's hierarchy of needs: connection, acceptance, and security. He almost shares these feelings during their famous weed rat dinner. By this point, his guard is completely down. When Fiona laments that she'll be dining differently from now on, Shrek does something completely out of character. He invites her to his swamp, the same swamp he's been fighting tooth and nail to keep empty. It's a quiet breakthrough. His avoidant attachment style is bending, making space for something new. Not stable yet, but open. It's a beautiful example of how our attachment styles can change when we choose to let them. But he's still an ogre, and she's still a princess, so he clams up before he can be truly vulnerable. Instead, he asks about her leftover weed rat, and he instantly regrets it. You can see it on his face. But before he can recover the moment, Donkey interrupts. And it's clear that neither Shrek or Fiona want to say goodnight. So clear that even Donkey notices. Here, we finally get an inside look at Shrek's perspective. He pulls a classic avoidant attachment move, minimizing his feelings for Fiona before ultimately revealing the truth.
She's a princess, and I'm...
An ogre?
Yeah.
And then he retreats back into isolation, going to get firewood, which then gives Donkey an opening to talk to Fiona himself. His intentions are innocent, but his meddling sets off a misunderstanding that almost derails the entire series. Shrek then returns to the camp, having made up his mind. He's going to tell Fiona. He's even found a flower that reminds him of her. She's beautiful, and he doesn't mind it. He's nervously rehearsing what to say when the movie plays a cruel joke. We get the infamous forced misunderstanding trope, spoofed so hard it becomes one of the most forced misunderstandings in all of film history. Fiona then tells Donkey,
"Take a good look at me, Donkey. I mean, really. Who could ever love a beast so hideous and ugly? And princess and ugly don't go together."
Written out, it's obvious that she's talking about herself, but the delivery makes it sound like she's talking about Shrek. The irony here is suffocating. While we know that Donkey is talking to ogre Fiona, Shrek doesn't. So he walks away, feeling utterly betrayed. His hurt is palpable, and we're left wondering, will he trust in these new connections or retreat into avoidance? We get a clear answer the next morning. He cuts Fiona off mid-sentence, won't let her clarify, and he just assumes he knows what she thinks about him. And yet, he still loves her. He can't help but react hopefully when Fiona shouts, "No!" when Farquaad says they'll wed tomorrow. But when Fiona says,
"Why wait? Let's get married today."
Shrek just walks off, Swamp Deed in one hand, true love in the hands of another. Donkey tries to reason with him, but Shrek's hurt is too raw. He lashes out at the safest target he has, the first person who ever truly accepted him. This isn't truly about Donkey. It's about how one misunderstanding poisoned every moment of vulnerability Shrek shared with Donkey and with Fiona. It's the disillusionment of connection. When he returns to his swamp, the isolation is brutal. His once pristine home is now in shambles from the evicted fairy tale creatures. However, memories of simpler days are scattered everywhere. The broken mirror in his swamp reflects Fiona's fractured image in the chandelier, a visual thread binding them, both out of place. This could have been the end of their love story, if not for one stubborn jackass. Donkey shows up, and instead of backing down to Shrek's anger, he blocks Shrek's exit and fights for a place in his life. It's real, it's loud, and it's exactly what Shrek needs. They argue over swamp ownership, but what they're really arguing about is whether Shrek will let anyone in again. And while Shrek won't listen, and Donkey does finally get through to him, in a moment of unfiltered vulnerability, Shrek apologizes.
I'm sorry. I guess I am just a big, stupid, ugly ogre. Can you forgive me?
And Donkey does forgive him. Just like that. This is a fairy tale after all. And with that, the truth comes out. Fiona does love Shrek. What he overheard wasn't about him at all. So naturally, the same dragon that once kept Fiona trapped now swoops in to deliver her true love. When Shrek storms into the cathedral, he has zero concern about how he'll be received. His only concern is Fiona. He speaks right over Farquaad and attempts to be honest, but Fiona isn't hearing it. She doesn't soften until she shouts at him.
What do you know about true love?
And he stutters. That one moment of accidental vulnerability is all she needed to make up her mind. For the first time in her life, she willingly turns into her evening form, an ogre, just as judged and rejected as Shrek. And to his credit, he instantly understands everything this explains. But before they can process it, Farquaad calls in the guards. If he'd had his way, Shrek's participation in the census would have been canceled, with Fiona locked away again, this time as his wife and prisoner. Instead, our favorite girl swoops in and makes Farquaad her appetizer. And finally, Shrek says the words we never thought he'd say.
Fiona?
Yes, Shrek?
I love you.
Really?
Really, really.
True love's form. Shrek and Fiona's story closes, for now, with an ogre wedding. Not in some gleaming cathedral, but surrounded by the fairy tale creatures whose lives were changed by someone they once feared. It's the perfect symbol for how far Shrek has come. From
What are you doing in my swamp?
To letting an entire community in, literally and emotionally. And the reason he's able to achieve this happily ever after? He took the risk of being vulnerable. Brene Brown writes in Daring Greatly, what most of us fail to understand is that vulnerability is the cradle of emotions and experiences that we crave. Vulnerability is the birthplace of love, belonging, joy, courage, empathy, and creativity. That passage perfectly encapsulates Shrek's journey. He moves from isolation to genuine connection, but we're not quite at self-actualization yet, are we? Looking at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, he's firmly in the third tier now. He's unquestionably less lonely, but is he truly happier? That's the question his story will keep exploring, and I'll be breaking it down movie by movie, tracing Shrek's full psychological arc and how each chapter shifts him closer to the elusive top of the pyramid. So if you want to follow along, hit subscribe and tap the bell. I'll also be diving into other movies, TV shows, anime, and pop culture moments with the same deep dive lens. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see some familiar faces in the next one.